Ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again for the actual official round of drip marketing for Wuthering Waves 3.5. And if you've been keeping up with the Wuthering Waves page recently, you would have already seen that, yes, Kuro's already gone above and beyond when it comes to teasing all of the new Mengzhou region's characters. But it actually turns out that when we get a bit more of a personal overview with their splash art and a bit of their story reveals, I'm gonna be honest, guys, it might be worth buckling in because Mengzhou and the region coming up in version 3.5, it might actually be a lot more important than we all thought. We all know that, like, Rover, their home, all of that is something that's been newly introduced in the 3.1 story, and the etheric sea, all of that jazz, it's still a little bit confusing for us. But one thing we know for certain is that Rover's kind of been abandoned, and that's like the main struggle when it comes to the overall plot. And so how appropriate is it that Yangyang, our day one, right, the unit that's been with us story-wise since the very beginning and has taken a bit of a break, she's coming back to us at this critical juncture in the Wu-Wa story. Because I saw this post over here, knowing that Rover's going to Mengzhou, right? And I thought it was really, really, really cool, by Vonnegut. For anyone who might have forgotten, Rover's trip to Mengzhou is likely to check out the remains of the Court of Savante and stuff related to the Etheric Sea. So you can say this time the story will focus on Rover and their homeland. It'll probably be packed with lore. And so, what better way for us to prep for that lore reveal and the lore drops that are going to be in that story than by going through some of the lore over here for Yangyang Zhuangling, because we're getting some crazy new info reveals about her that'll have you thinking about some of Kuro's past games, but also some theories about what might be going on moving forward. So first things first, when it comes to Yangyang Zhuangling, let's read this line over here. Long time, no see, Rover. And so, if you're all aware of the patch cycles, all the stuff that's happened in this game, one thing that we get very often is like an email or like a mail letter from Yangyang that ends up getting deleted within like 10 days of it getting sent. But yeah, maybe we can, I don't have it in my inbox right now. She's been sending us the survey emails since the start of launch. Every single version in this game, there's a survey message where she sends like one to send the survey out and then a thank you too. She's basically been the most consistent playable character that we've communicated with since the start of the game. She's also, well, the first person that we ever saw in the history of the game too. However, this is where stuff gets a little bit weird. We all know that Rover's been a character, right? That's traveled Solaris 3, that has made connections with the Black Shores, Star Torch Academy, probably Mengzhou, Ridacita, all those different places. Then they wipe their memory. And so part of me is thinking, gosh, this is Kuro being really cryptic over here about one of the prevailing theories that have been floating around regarding Yangyang, where we all remember this one scene over here where from the Grand Architect's notes in the 3.3 story, they're the ones that decided on the name Rover for Rover. And then Yangyang over here, right, in the introduction dialogue of the game ends up calling Rover Rover, and that's like kind of like their name moving forward, right? And there is this also really, really, really super crazy dialogue from Chisa over here, also in the 1.0 quest, where she says this. And look who's in the frame. Oh, I see. The one who seems gentle and quiet is actually the villain, hiding right under the protagonist's nose. That's a common trope, too. A lot of people are, kind of going with all of the context clues that Kuro's been putting in. This could potentially be the Grand Architect, right? That's like pretending to be Yangyang. And this, right? Yangyang Zhuangling over... Oh, gosh. Wait. Let me see that giggle again. Ooh, doesn't Navora do that? Doesn't Navora do that a lot? Just saying. And this is the real Yangyang. And the reality is that our Rover, the one after the memory wipe, right, hasn't actually met Zhuangling yet, but we did meet her before we wiped our memories. And of course, maybe we also met Sui Sui too, her sister. Because this is the next line over here. Born the second daughter of a renowned musical family from Mingting, you can probably guess what's going on. The first daughter is Sui Sui, right? She's gentle yet strong, pure-hearted and romantic. She is the votary of the voice who can commune with the streams. Free as a breeze, bold in her chivalry, her life and her blade exist only to protect. This all seems very, very, very interesting, right? I mean, it does kind of like seem in line with who she is as like a Midnight Ranger, as we're all aware, right? With her like 1.0 version. But what's one thing really, really, really obvious about the 1.0 4-star version of Yangyang? Is there anything like musical about her at all? I don't necessarily think so. But over here, you can kind of see it a bit more. Now, that's kind of just it for kind of like the lore theorizations and stuff we can really do from here. I just really wanted to kind of like go back to some of the initial theories that we had after 3.3, because people have gone with the assumption, right, that just because Yangyang said long time no see rover, that the theory that this 1.0 version that we saw was the Grand Architect can't actually be true. I think that there's still a possibility for it. It would just have required Rover to have known Sui Sui and Yangyang before they wipe their memories. And so all they know is the old version of Rover, and then they're going back to, they're going back to Mengzhou. That could be very interesting. We'll just have to find out. Now let's actually start taking a bit of a deep dive and look at this splash art and this design over here. And this is where we're going to start going back to some of the stuff that we saw in this little breakdown. She looks like a very sort of like flowy performance type of character. If you've taken a look at her actual kit reveal from the Street Fighter guy and, well, the gameplay that we're seeing over here, it's a good thing we have this. One thing that's very, very, very clear from her moveset is that it looks like she's dancing. Yeah, it looks like a literal sword dance. And, well, what do you need to dance? You need, like, some sort of music, right? And so the whole, like, musical stuff that we're seeing over here, and of course, the notes that you'll hear across, like, her attacks, they kind of sound like instruments, too. What's one character in Kuro history that has had black hair, blue motifs, and uses instruments to attack?
With you by my side, the same old tune, always...
Here you go. Yes, this is Selena Pianissimo from PGR, and Yangyang's SP form, her 5-star form, is essentially just like this character. And so, yes, this is a little bit like Frolova too, but you can kind of see what's going on, right? The vibe, the sort of like aesthetic, all of that, the color scheme over here, obviously, right, in her baseline form, it's kind of almost like one-to-one. And then you consider the fact that she's obviously a musician, and then Yangyang comes from the musician family. We see that Kuro Games, right, is taking some inspiration from some of their past titles to design some of their current ones. It's something that they've obviously done in the past before. But that's clearly like where the inspiration is from right over here. And this is kind of like the crazy part. There's no clues we could draw at all. Because you want to know what this unit is in PGR? She's physical. This unit is a physical DPS in PGR, but it's kind of using like the same sort of stuff that we would, imagine from Yangyang over here. And this Yangyang over here, guys, she clearly looks like Arrow. I'm sorry. This looks like wind. This looks like straight up, she's like throwing birds and shit at her enemies. But this is also the part that's like, a little bit odd. We've actually got a second reveal over here. And I think this one is actually a lot more important. Let's read this. Yangyang can resonate with the surrounding air. Sounds Arrow, right? Gathering it to create an energy field. With her Forte Forge Azure Plume, not only can she perceive the frequencies of all things and convert their energy into gentle winds, Arrow, but then also neutralize Fortes and their effects afflicted on living things and non-living things alike. That, I don't know what that whole, like, negation thing sounds like. But this, to me, doesn't necessarily sound like Arrow. I know all the shit over here is obviously pointing to Arrow, but guys, I don't think... This is the unfortunate sort of, like, realist perspective we need to have. I don't think Kuro's gonna release another sword, Arrow sword DPS right after Kartithia is rerunning, like, in 3 days. That's actually the main reason for why I think she can't be an Arrow sword, because Kart's rerunning, like, right now. Yeah, no, she's rerunning either now or in a couple of hours. So having another arrow sword released right after her is just literally, it doesn't make any fucking sense at all. And there's just no way, banner-wise and sales-wise, Kuro Game would do it. And so that's why Arrow Sword is already out of the water, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that's just like a fact. I don't think there's any possibility that it occurs. Some people are going with the mindset that she's maybe going to be a sub DPS. Let's just review this footage again. Okay, some people are saying sub DPS here. Let's check this out. Hey guys, does this look like a sub DPS to you? Let me just tell you this. The rotation's already too long. The rotation is already longer than a sub DPS rotation. She's almost guaranteed to be a DPS if she has this many moves in her kit. If you understand kit design, there are some kits that just obviously look like sub DPSs. They typically have quick move sets and then a big nuke and then their ultimate. You get it with Lene, you get it with Denya, you get it with Rebecca. They get a quick little nuke in their kit, right, for somewhere, but then the rest of their kit is really fast. Her kit's long as fuck, it's floaty as hell, she's like moving everywhere, it has crazy amount of AoE. And, bro, I'm sorry. She even has like this cute, she even has like the Ameth level animation in her kit as well, after that long ass attack stream. And those are all the different attacks that she does, bro. It's like, I'm pretty sure this guy is attacking for at least... No, the guy's attacking for like 12 seconds. So maybe the rotation isn't really that long, but, well, it seems pretty typical for a DPS. And with the viewpoint that I have is that Kuro's not going to release an Arrow DPS right after an Arrow DPS. My money is on her not actually being Arrow. And that's kind of like the reason for it. And it's all because of her. So yeah, we'll just have to see in a couple of days what the full breakdown is over here. Because Kuro definitely is throwing us for a fucking loop with this one. And I don't really think anyone has any reason to think otherwise. We also got this little bonus over here. And I wanted to really watch this one too. Because this is like the special little short that they do with the actual drip marketing. It's very interesting, right, that they did this whole sort of like montage, right? This whole little like clip. Wouldn't it just be goofy as fuck if this was just a montage of all the not times it was Yangyang? Of all the times it wasn't Yangyang. Of all the times it was getting faked. But yeah, usually this animation over here tells us something about the character. Bro, all I know is now I think she could be Spectral because now she's got a yellow one. Bro, now she has a yellow bird. And her sword's red. Her sword's red, too. So she could be fusion as well. What the fuck? All I know is that with the characters coming up, my mistake of accidentally converting all of my corals to radiant tides, I'm not that mad about it anymore for some reason. Yeah, like for some reason, I'm not even like upset about this anymore. You guys know what I mean? It's like, yeah, oh, sure, it sucks that I can't like do the slider myself, but I'm not really that mad anymore. You could probably guess why. I think this character is super, super, super cool. Now let's get into our final breakdown over here, now that we've gone through all, right, of the various, like, lore tidbits, the teasers, all of that. I know we've tried talking about what I think her kit is going to do and what attribute and stuff she is. Bro, I can't tell shit. This is one of the most nondescript kits I think I've ever seen. And I think you could put any effect that you actually wanted on those animations and it would probably make sense. So, yeah, I don't think anyone has, like, a factual basis for why any of her stuff looks like any of the stuff that she's doing over here. Bro, she looks like Shorekeeper, Galbreda, and like Yeah, she looks like Shorekeeper and Galbraith put together. But I doubt she's going to be either attribute. So clearly what you can see over here is that they kind of are going for like that painted canvas sort of look. But I will say the dominant color, right? The dominant color that shows up in this splash art that really takes your attention is obviously the black. Because the black is like all over when it comes to like her hair. It's all over when it comes to her outfit. And I think the biggest part over here is that it's like showing up in kind of like the buildings, the background, and kind of like the sort of like the artwork that's going on over here, when she's kind of meant to be a bit more, you know, like on the lighter end, you would assume, right? Especially given like her history and her lore and all of that. And so it's just super blue, and then there's naturally, right, a bunch of these birds, and there's so many of the fucking birds everywhere. Yangyang, as we all know, her kind of like resonance ability and the mutation that she goes under because of her resonance ability is that, well, she's like turning into a bird. That's why her hair is like feathers and shit, and that's why she has like so much of like the white actually going on over here. And naturally, that's probably why she's Arrow in her, you know, baseline version. I'm pretty sure Kuro's trying to find some way to like actually differentiate. It's incredibly boring for the 5-star version of the character. Incredibly boring for the 5-star version of the character to be almost like a carbon copy, right? At least attribute and design-wise, like their initial one. So a lot of people are probably thinking, well, there's more feathers now. So does that mean she mutated further? Or has this been the real Yangyang the whole time? She's always been like this. She has always had this many feathers, that sort of stuff. And then this is just the fake Grand Architect version. Because wouldn't this actually be funny? And this is just like a crackpot theory. This Yangyang was never Arrow, ever. She was either like Glacio or like, Glacio or Spectro or Havoc the whole time. And then Yangyang was just LARPing. And because they saw that Yangyang was a bird, they thought she was Arrow. And like, that's just why the 4-star version is Arrow. They were just wrong. Because like, this is what I would assume she's Arrow too. I would assume she's Arrow too, and she'd be looking all bird-like and shit like this. But it wasn't true the whole time. My personal take is, Kuro's obviously going to throw us in for a bit of a loop with this one. But if we're thinking about what attribute desperately needs a DPS the most, well, let's be entirely honest here, guys. Let's look at the coverage lately. Is Kuro going to release another Arrow DPS right after releasing Sagrika? One of the highest DPS characters in the history of the game. Maybe. Is Kuro going to release a Glacio DPS right after Hiyuki? Maybe. Is Kuro going to release a Spectre DPS right after Luke and Lucy? Maybe. And that's where a lot of like the common ideas for what DPS she could be already start disappearing, right? Arrow, kind of dead because of Sagrika and because of Cardathea. Spectro, remember the yellow bird? Kind of dead because of Luke and Lucy. Glacio, which is one of the clear, right, front runners as well because she's blue, dead because of Hiyuki. And so the rest of the stuff that's left is like Electro, Fusion, and Havoc. They haven't stopped shilling Amith yet, by the way. She's still getting shilled in the TOA, and State Matrix, and Whimpering Waves. Do you think that they're ready to replace her yet? Maybe. But if Yangyang SP is Fusion, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, Kuro, I mean, I could sort of see Blue Fire over here, but there's still, there's not really. Not really, right? And so kind of like the only real options that are left, right, is unironically, yeah, it's probably Havoc. Just from like a simple process of elimination perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Just from like a simple process of elimination method. This is the one that you land on. It's either Havoc or Electro, just looking at the past DPS releases. And like, yeah, if she's Electro, then I might as well just quit the game. Because guys, you know the last time we got a Havoc DPS? This was 2.5. This was a year ago. it will have been actually legitimately, if Yangyang SP is a having DPS, it will have been a fucking whole year. A whole year between the releases. So it's actually high time for one. It's the longest gap that we've had, and pretty much all the other elements or attributes, other than Electro. But then, guys, Augusta was released in version 2.6, so Havoc's actually taken the spot for the longest time. Then we have Augusta and Electro next up on the list. So yeah, I think it's kind of clear what the end result is going to be over here, just because of the fact that none of the other releases surrounding her make any sense. So that's probably where we're going to cap the discussion with this one. But yeah, Yangyang SP over here, I think she's definitely a unit that I feel like could have been hyped up a little bit more interestingly. I personally think that her and Sweet Sweet would have been enough, like, by themselves, and then maybe we could have dropped, like, the rest of the units later, because I think that she's clearly meant to be a very sort of, like, pivotal moment in the story for us, and then maybe she could have deserved, like, a little bit of, like, her own attention. Because right now, I feel like the hype for her and, like, the pre-release, all of that for Sweet, it's not as popular as I think it could have been. And the reason for this is very simple. People are more so focused on the other characters that have been drip marketed so far. I think namely this one. Yeah, it's kind of hard to focus on Yangyang SP and I guess Sweet Sweet and stuff like that when, like, people are busy looking at her. Maybe she should have been kept in quarantine like Imeth and then revealed in secret later. Because now we're wondering, who's the Imeth of 3.5 or 3.6? Right? They already kind of, like, blew their load by showing the Sentinel Resonator. Who's, like, are they going to have an Imeth in 2.5 or 2.6? Or in 3.5 or 3.6? The one that gets revealed later? Because guess what? Imeth didn't show up over here. Then she showed up with her Gundam and then blew up the, and then blew up the gacha space. Yeah, she went viral. And, like, we kind of, like, this is, like, kind of like our Imeth over here, and we already got the reveal early. And in the process of getting that reveal, I think we did kind of, like, grief some of the potential over here with Yangyang SP. But that's my personal take. I think Kuro's obviously, like, thinking outside the box with this one. I think it did work out well because the hype is super high. But for her, I think she kind of got screwed over a little bit. But that's just my personal take. Let me know what you all thought about this breakdown, this lore reveal, this whole sort of, like, deep dive that we did. And, of course, the theorizing that we did about all the different kits, characterizations, all of that. I think she's going to be a very, very, very fun character. And I think the story in 3.5, in particular, for Wu-Wow lore enjoyers, for Rover enjoyers, I think it's going to be really, really, really good. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.